I picked up a few physical Nintendo Switch 1 and Switch 2 games, and for the first time I opened the box and something was a little bit different. This little thing here is a game key card, and instead of having all of the data on a cartridge like you would traditionally, this is a key to a download link. And for some games, this is the only way you're gonna get a physical release. And so I've had to make the difficult decision to start buying game key cards, because I'm a collector, but I'm also a gamer. Hello and welcome back to Cup of Quest. In today's video we're going to look at Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 pickups, and as you can probably imagine, things are going to have to change. Let's get into it. Now we're going to start strong in a game that I think needs to be on more people's lists to buy, and this is a digital title that released a few years ago but the physical released a few weeks ago, and Fangamer have given us a fantastic release. What is that game? It is UFO 50. This game is a 50 game in one compilation with a twist. This isn't just random games plucked from, you know, the Atari or the Super Nintendo and slapped onto it. This is 50 games built up from the ground for a fictional games console, the UFO, and oh, this is an absolutely fantastic. Now I'm going to be honest, some of these compilation games, especially stuff like the Atari and stuff like that, if you don't have the nostalgia, these are things where you might pick them up, play them for a few minutes and never touch them again. UFO 50, oh my god, this is fantastic. Each game has been individually crafted, and a lot of these games look like something on the surface and then play something different once you get used to it. This is a game where if you are in love with retro based stuff, this is a must have. An absolute must have, and I just don't see enough people talking about it. People will see like a release, Glover, oh I love Glover, I'll buy that, but UFO 50 is something special indeed. Like I mentioned, there are so many different games on here, and they are games that you might pick up and play maybe a few minutes of and then not play them again, but if you scratch more than the initial surface, each game becomes its own massive thing. Honestly, there is so much greatness in here. Now, not every single game is going to hit. That's going to be an impossibility, but the vast majority of these are absolutely fantastic. And this took me back to a classic era where there was something I used to have grown up called a TV Boy. This was just a little handheld thing that you stuck into a TV and you could play games on the TV. Kind of like a Switch, but it was all like Atari stuff and stuff like that, and I remember that clear as day. This took me back to it. If you love retro games, if you want to go back to stuff like the NES, if you want to go back to like classic times, this is a must have for your collection. And it comes with a nice little, you know, like a few like maps and stuff like that. You even get like a coaster and stuff like that. It's a really nice release, even the standard one. There is a more expensive physical one, which I believe was done via Fangamer themselves, which is going to be harder to get in the UK, but honestly, you can do a lot worse than pick this one up. This, in my opinion, is one of the must-have games for a Nintendo Switch collection. So the next game that I picked up over the last few weeks was one that I saw in the Metro Centre CEX a few months ago. That title is Snufkin, Melody of Moomin Valley. Now, I'm going to be honest, I found Moomin's a bit concerning. I wouldn't say concerning, weird when I grew up. There was like a monster in here that just absolutely terrified me. I think it was like a Yeti of the North or something like that. It was called something weird like that. But this game I've heard nothing but good things about. I've heard it's a comfy game, but it's also a game that doesn't outstay its welcome. It's one that you can beat in a good, lazy afternoon. And you know what? Sometimes you need this. Some of the other games we're going to talk about are very big and very long-winded. It's nice to have a small, little, comfy one. Now, this physical release also comes with a few nice stickers, and it comes with a few DLC as well. But it's just a nice release. Now, this was actually cheaper than CEX. Now, this is something that we are going to mention time and time again. CEX is not the best place to go for prices. For older stuff, yes, it's fine. But for newer and more obscure releases, it might be cheaper to go online. And yes, there is the whole debate whether or not it's worth supporting Amazon over CX, but would you rather have something new complete or something pre-owned, costs more and possibly missing stuff? I know what I want. Snufkin is an absolutely joy of a game. It's absolutely comfy. It's nice change of pace to a lot of the big games, and I think a lot of people who have kids might enjoy this one, and a lot of people who grew up with Moomins might have a good time with it. A nice physical release, and one that I'm really happy to have because this one was on my list to pick up for quite some time. Pokopia released in the last few weeks and I had to own it. So Pokopia is a very Animal Crossing, a very cozy style game in which you rebuild the Pokemon world after what seems to be the apocalypse. You have to build like nesting areas, you gotta build like paths, you gotta build like water, you gotta revitalize the landscape, you rebuild buildings, grow crops, you do everything with a Pokemon twist. Rebuilding habitats will entice Pokemon to come back into the world, and you get to chill, relax, build a new world with your Pokemon. Now I'm gonna be honest, this game has absolutely captured me, and this is one of those games where you sit down, play it, and you're just like, this is what game's about. This is what game's about. This is a game where I can sit down and sink so many hours and just sit and smile the entire way through it. It is a game that I've absolutely thoroughly enjoyed. Now I'm very hit and miss on Pokemon. Some of the games are great, some of the spin-offs have not been great. This spin-off, this Pokopia, has been released, made by the ones who did Dragon Quest Builders, and that was a big thing for me. That was one where I looked at it and said, I'm going to have that in the collection. I'm going to have that in the collection. Because I'm a gamer, I love playing games, and games that I absolutely adore need to be played. It's a game key card, it's not what I wanted to, not the way I wanted to play it, but it's the way I have to play it, and it's one that I am so happy I did not skip out on. Absolutely fantastic game. One of the most enjoyable experiences I've had gaming in the last few years. Really, really good one. A really, really good one. So another game that came out, and again, game key cards. And this one has a reason. It's too big to fit on any Switch 2 cartridge. That is the justification, and that's why I ended up buying this one. Now this is what I do have on the PlayStation, and I kind of felt a little bit weird buying it. Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate. Now I've got this on the PlayStation. Why have I bought it on the Nintendo Switch 2? Because a better version on the PlayStation. Well, simply put, I'm actually going to play this version. This is one of those ones I've sat and played in handheld mode. I've sat being able to move around away from my desk, away from just sitting at a big TV. But I've been able to do it when I wanted to. Final Fantasy VII. Now I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I am not the biggest Final Fantasy fan. I genuinely don't think Final Fantasy is the pinnacle of RPGs, JRPGs. And the reason being as well, my first one was Final Fantasy IV on the PlayStation 1. But when that came out, I'd already played Genso Suikoden, I'd already played Star Ocean, I'd already played Dragon Quest Monsters, I'd already played Pokemon. So it was not my first foray into JRPGs. And Final Fantasy VII always remained one of those ones where I was like, oh, I like it, I can see why people love it. But it's not my favourite. And it's also so more or less been around the middle. Not my favourite, not my least favourite. It's been an okay one. So I tried the demo of this on the Switch 2, and as soon as I tried the demo I was just like, you know what, I'm going to have to pay the little bit extra and buy this again. Now this is again is a game key card. The game key you get there. You also get a packet of magic boosters, and I'm going to be honest, I love ripping Pokemon cards. I've getting really into Gundam TCG as of late, One Piece TCG. I've never had any motivation to actually open this. I probably should, but this is the version that came for a booster pack. It's kind of like a way to kind of say, oh, you know, it's a game key card, we'll give you something physical to include it. And how do I feel about this one? Yes, I've actually been playing it. I'm just towards the end, so from my understanding I've got a boss rush and that's all I've got. It's okay. It's okay. I like the combat. I really like the combat. I really was not sure how I would enjoy the combat. The combat originally I was kind of like, oh, I don't like this, I prefer the turn-based, but once I got into it I really liked it. My problem is with this game feels so disregarding of your time. This game, I know the Midgar section was like a 4 to 7 hour section in the original game, it was like the first bit of the game, but this really feels dragged out. And I'm not saying it's dragged out kind of like, oh, they've added like some filler parts, they've added some side quests. Those bits I could get away with. This feels like it's dragged out in the way they've made it more cinematic. The way you'll just walk into a room and Cloud will just go and comment on what's in the room. Oh, this is a toilet. And then somebody else, oh well, you know, toilets are good for the digestive system. I agree. It's that kind of nonsense. You're trying to play the game and the game will slow to a crawl as you slowly walk around and look and comment on just about everything. I hate that. I'm going to be honest, I hate that in games. It just feels so unnatural. It just feels so dragged out to add. And it's one of those things, if it was happening every now and again, it doesn't. It happens a lot. I'm at the end games where it's like the Midgar, like the raid on Midgar, Shinra building, sorry. And it just plods along and I'm just like, oh my god, just let me end this. To the point that I liked it, I really liked it, but this is still not doing stuff that I feel has been standard in the JRPG side for a long time. Why is there no way to speed this up? Why can I not speed this game up? It just feels I'm just dragged along and plodding along. I'm really hoping that Rebirth picks up a little bit. Not my favourite game, but it is one that, well, I wanted to play and I am overall enjoying my time with it. I am overall enjoying it. So yeah, we've talked about game key cards and the question is, what is a game key card and why is it so controversial? Well, when the Switch 2 first came out, we started seeing these by the dozen and Nintendo said this was a request from publishers. We know it's a cost-cutting measure. We know it's the downward spiral into a digital future. Nintendo have said that their first party releases will be physical. However, Pokopia has kind of threw up a bit of a storm, and whether or not it will be, because some Nintendo properties are done by third parties. This is a third party release published by Nintendo. It's gone very confusing. So a game key card is basically, you know, your cartridge, and on that cartridge you will have a key to a download. That's right, there's not stuff on here, it's all linked to a download. So I think this is better than download code in a box. You are at least getting a physical cartridge. And people say, oh, you've got to have the cartridge in, you've got to have the cartridge in when it's downloaded. And I was like, yeah, but you've got to have a cartridge in when you're playing the physical cartridge anyway. So yeah, it's one of those ones, that's not something that's kind of bothering me. The big stinker has always been, what happens when the servers go down? Do you truly own the games? We know it from digital releases, we know from stuff like Steam that we do not own our digital releases. They can take them off us. We've seen stuff like, even physical releases, we saw like stuff like Concord, was it Helldivers or something like that, that Xbox had, and they just kind of was like, they just took it all off us. Yeah, they just took the whole thing off and it was just like, you don't own this game, the servers are down, you can have a refund or something. Even if some people didn't even get refunds. I think Concord had the physical release and didn't have a refund. So yeah, it is an awkward one. But the question is for me as well, I mean, I'm a gamer, I want to play games on the Switch 2. I'm not going to skip Pokopia. As much as it pains me to have to buy these, I personally can justify it, because if I'm sitting there and actually playing through the games, they're getting the worth out of it. Oh, the servers might go down in 20 years time. In 20 years time I'm going to be like 57. I think at 57 the last thing I'm going to be worried about is whether or not I can play Final Fantasy VII Remake on my Switch 2. It's going to be re-released, remade so many times since then. We are going to lose a generation of games, but for me personally, it's not something I need to worry about at this point. Fair enough, if you're 15, 16, 17, early 20s, you know, getting mid-30s like I am, and going back to your GameCube and stuff like that, yeah, I can certainly see it's going to be a big minus. But for me, if I want to play the games, this is the only way to play them on a console of choice. That's what I'm going to do. I'm a gamer, I'm also a collector. So that has of course opened up a whole box of things, because my logic was like, if I'm going to play the game, I'll buy it game key card. Absolutely fine. And then, no sleep for Kaname Date from the AI Somnium files went on sale for 15 quid, and I was just like, oh crap, I'm going to buy that, aren't I? The AI Somnium files are titles that I actually have wanted to play for a long time, and this includes stickers. Brilliant. I've not opened it. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, if it's a game release and it's so stupidly cheap, I'm happy to support it. I'm not going to go out and buy like Disgaea 7 full edition for like $59.99 because I've got Disgaea 7 on the Nintendo Switch. It's not a game I'm going to play immediately. It's going to sit on a shelf and probably just be worthless. Yakuza 0. If I saw Yakuza 0 for 15 quid, I'll happily buy it. I'm not paying full price for it because I got it on the PlayStation. That's simply how I'm going to do it. Some titles I will justify. Final Fantasy 7 Remake Integrate. I've never played it on the PlayStation. I can justify it on the Switch too. But yeah, this is one. It was cheap. I'm going to go on with it. Yeah. And so we come to the next game. Now I am at the end of Final Fantasy 7. This is probably the game I'm going to go on to next. And so at the beginning of the year, I was on a kick. A Dragon Quest kick. And you guys know from the channel how much of a huge fan I am of Dragon Quest. I've built the whole channel motive around it, where I go out game hunting and I try to think of it as a quest. So when Dragon Quest 7 Reimagined came out, I trialed it. I trialed the demo on both the Switch and Switch 2 version, and the Switch 2 version just blew it away. The problem I actually had was the same price. It was the exact same price for the Switch 2 version as it was the Switch 1 version. So yeah, it was kind of like, Switch 1 version is on cart, is the worst version. Switch 2 is game key card, but it's exactly the same price and very much better quality. Now, interestingly enough, Dragon Quest 7 is the game I have not finished in the Dragon Quest franchise, apart from 10, because nobody, it didn't come over here. I've just recently finished 1 and 2. I haven't finished 3. I tell a lie, I haven't actually finished Dragon Quest 3. I need to go back to that. But 4, 5, 6, finished that on the DS years ago. 7, I had on the 3DS. Never had it on the PlayStation. I do have a Japanese copy on the PlayStation, just never came out over in the UK. 8 was what got me into Dragon Quest. 9 on the DS. 11 on the PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Switch. I played through Dragon Quest Builders. I played through all the spin-offs that have been released since. 7 was the one that I was missing, and I've heard mixed things about it. I've heard that it's not as, it's a lot easier, they've skipped a few things, it's a reimagining, so much like Final Fantasy 7 Remake, it's a lot different to what's actually on the tin. So yeah, it's not going to be for everybody, but it's one that I'm really excited to play. Very excited indeed. Next up, Stellar Blade. I could play Stellar Blade. Looking forward to this one. So yeah, an interesting pickup. So we've had 4 game key cards, we've had 2 full-on physical cards. Now, I'm not going to prioritise game key cards. If a game comes out that I really want to play, I'll pick it up. Otherwise, it's going to be physical all the way. And I do have a lot of physical, and I mean physical, Switch games in the post coming very shortly. So it might not be too long until the next haul, and honestly, the next haul, it's going to be a limited release. It's going to be some limited editions, some very hard to find stuff. I'm really excited. We've got some limited run stuff coming. We've got a new publisher of Switch games who are releasing games. So hopefully their stuff starts dropping in there. I've been waiting on a while for them, and I'm trying some other places as well. If you love Switch games, let me know what you think. Have you started to warm up, or are you still very much anti-game key card? I mean, like I said, I've said a lot about it this episode, but it is my own self-justification. Everybody's different. Be civil. The adults, let me know what you think of game key cards. Are you still very much anti against them, or are you starting to warm up to them? And let me know, what do you think of UFO 50 and Pokopia? Oh, a game that makes me go when I'm playing it. It's always a good shout.